Hey everyone, it's Kyle, and we're back again with another episode of the 1977 Toyota Celica Restomod, and today we're going to give it the beams. Here it is, Beams 3S GE. My dad and I went down to JDM Midwest right outside of Cincinnati a couple weekends ago and picked this up. I'm nowhere near ready for this engine, but they're getting kind of hard to find, and that might just be part of all the shipping craziness that's going on right now. But the prices have also been steadily creeping up in the 5 years or so that I've been wanting to do this swap, and I figured this one's close enough that it's well within a day's drive to pick up and bring back. It's available, and the price was fair, and I didn't want to wait longer and end up paying even more further down the road. Today, I'm going to separate the engine and the transmission, get the engine on a stand, and get the transmission just on actually on a furniture dolly for now, just so I can move it around the garage, get it out of the way when I need to. Let's get to it. Alright, a little update. So, I need to figure out how to disengage the clutch fork from the throwout bearing. At least I think I do, because the pressure plate is going to be bolted to the flywheel, which means that I won't be able to separate the engine and transmission unless I disengage that fork, I believe. I know that's how it was on the Subarus, and there was like a plug and a roll pin for the pivot. I need to lift this thing up to see if there's a pivot or anything below, but I'm not incredibly thrilled with this. I just realized that this seat belt, which was working as a great lift point, was actually running up against, I don't know if this is a camshaft position sensor or what, but it wasn't putting pressure on it, but it was right up against it, and I don't like that. So I'm going to pull the power steering and air conditioning pumps real quick. Might pull the alternator off as well. I am gonna change over to a US spec alternator. I think it's off of any of the JZ engines, but I'm just gonna try to find different lift points. So in my quest to find a better lifting point for this engine, I've decided that I need to remove this motor mount. And this is not sponsored in any way, but I picked up this rigid subcompact impact a while back, and anyhow, this thing actually fits in here, which is incredible. And just like that. So that's awesome. Get that out of the way. But yeah, how stubby this is really nice for spots where you don't have a lot of clearance. Alright, so after a little bit of figuring out and removing a few things, we are good. There is a bracket here that looks pretty sturdy, and it's tied off on the manifold on that end. So I'm going to lift this up, take a look at the underside, and see where we're at. And actually first, I'm going to clean this stuff up, just so it's not laying around and in the way. So this looks a little sketchy, but it's actually pretty well supported. There's a jack under the oil pan with a piece of wood distributing the weight there, and then the jack back here is just holding the transmission kind of in place. And then it's obviously still on the hoist, but trying to figure out how to disengage this clutch fork. I just removed this, which I have a feeling I wasn't supposed to. Hopefully I didn't mess anything up too badly. I guess we'll see. I am planning on doing a Celica S15 6th gear swap to drop the cruising RPMs down on this. I don't really want to take the whole transmission apart, but if I did just inadvertently mess something up royally, I'll be able to fix it because I can tear into it. But I'm gonna take to the internet, do some searching, and see if I can figure out how to disengage this so that I can lower this back down, strap the transmission to the jack, and try to wiggle these apart. Alright, I did some looking, and I found on SQ Engineering's website that there's a spring clip that attaches the clutch fork to the throwout bearing. I tried to get a screwdriver in there to see if I could pry it loose or get it to pop out. That didn't work. I can actually see the spring clip, but I started just wiggling the clutch fork, and it seems like it's out of that spring clip. I just kind of, you know, forced it back and forth. I guess I'll drop this down and put the transmission on the dolly, get it as level as possible, drop the engine down, and try to separate these two. I don't know if they're gonna come apart or not. I don't know if this clutch fork needs to be out completely. I don't know if I'm applying Subaru stuff to Toyota and doing things wrong. Obviously the pivot is this direction. I don't know why I thought, aside from the fact that that kind of looks like the plug that's in the side of a Subaru transmission to get the clutch pivot pin out. So I'm gonna have to do some research and figure out what it is I removed and how badly I messed things up. There's something in there that's now at an angle, so that's probably not good. At this point, I decided to try to separate the engine and transmission and see what happened. I tried to show this in the time lapse and it didn't work out. This is just a nice way to keep track of where the bell housing bolts were. Well, there we are. Beams engine, J160. Hopefully I didn't mess the transmission up. I know I already said that, but that's, you know, behind the bell housing there, so I'm gonna have to take the bell housing off, I think, which is unfortunate. The input shaft here has a little bit of play, not too bad. I don't know if this is normal or, let me set up the camera still. I don't know if this is a normal amount of play or if that has something to do with whatever I took out of the transmission. I am going to clean up a little bit, find a home for the transmission for now, and then I'm gonna pull this flywheel off of here and get this on the engine stand. Don't know. No, I don't even think it would fit with the flywheel on there. That's got some serious thickness. Thick boy. Pressure plate, dual mass flywheel combo. So we'll pull that off of there and get this on the stand. The good news is the engine is on the stand. Here's the transmission. Bad news is I'm an idiot and didn't think about the fact that to do a compression test, the starter needs something to bolt to, like the bell housing of a transmission. And the starter gear needs something to turn, like the teeth of a flywheel. If it was as simple as picking the engine back up with the hoist and putting the flywheel on and bolting the starter up to do a compression test, I would probably do it. But I do have a leak down test kit and an inspection camera. It's a Toyota. I'm not expecting any huge issues. I just wanted to check things out, seeing that it's a used engine and it has a 30-day warranty. So we'll pull the exhaust manifold and check out the exhaust valves. We'll pull the intake manifold, check out the intake valves. We'll pull the spark plugs, we'll peek in the cylinders, we'll do leak down, and like I said, maybe I'll pull the valve cover and maybe this just this lower oil pan here. This whole thing, girdle, whatever you want to call it, it's like an upper oil pan, part of the sump system. But I might just pull this piece and see what I can see. And unless there's anything concerning, I don't think I'm gonna worry too much about doing a compression test or getting any farther into this. So there's that. Take a look at our J160 transmission for a second. Use that shift fork, and there's that spring clip that I had mentioned I read about on SQ Engineering's website. I don't know that I had to do anything with this to get this engine and transmission separated. There's also like a tension ring or something in the pivot. But yeah, the clutch fork pivots on that ball in here, and I don't think I would have had to remove it to pull the engine, because if I slip that throwout bearing on, there's the fork on the pivot, and it would engage the arms, the fingers, whatever you want to call it, of the pressure plate. That was taking something from years and years of Subarus and making an assumption, and because of that, made a world of pain for myself in terms of time, and also by removing this, which doesn't want to thread back in even with that inner piece lined up. So I'm not sure what I did there. I'm hoping that I don't have to separate this bell housing from the middle section here, but we'll see. Like I mentioned, I want to do the Sylvia S15 6 gear swap. For that, you'd only have to pull the tail section. I mean, worst case scenario, I have to break this transmission down. Hoping that that's not the case, but if it is, we can deal. So, there we are. I'll come back out some night this week and do leak down and poke around in the cylinders, see what I can find. We pulled the plugs when we went and picked this up, and the plugs look good. I'll show those in the next video. Thanks for watching me struggle to get this transmission separated, only to realize that I needed to do the compression test first. All good. This is a new platform for me, and I'm learning as much as anybody else, so made a mistake and learned from it. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Thanks. Stay tuned.